Welcome back to Timeless Wisdom Podcast, where we always uncover these really profound insights tucked away in sacred texts. And today we're going to be diving into a passage from the Quran that really got me thinking. It's from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 26. You know, the one people often call the cow.
Yes, a chapter overflowing with guidance, wisdom that's relevant even centuries later.
And what really struck me about this particular verse is how it uses a mosquito to make this really profound point about faith and where we fit into the grand scheme of things.
It's a brilliant example of how the Quran uses everyday things like a mosquito to teach these profound truths.
Right.
And don't let that mosquito fool ya. This tiny creature reveals how complex and precise God's creation is.
Yeah, I mean, we swat them away without a second thought.
Exactly.
But when you really think about it, all the intricate systems that have to work perfectly for that mosquito to even exist.
It's a miracle we overlook. Exactly. Every tiny detail, every system working in harmony, it all points back to the magnificence of God's design.
And it reminds me of, you see this in technology today, right? That constant drive to make things smaller, more efficient, more precise.
Right.
It's like we're trying to replicate what God has already mastered, but on a microscopic level.
Wow, that's a fascinating connection. So we've got this seemingly insignificant mosquito showcasing this incredible power of God.
Right.
But the verse doesn't stop there, right?
No, it doesn't.
It goes on to talk about how true faith means accepting God's word even if we don't fully grasp the reasons behind it.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
You know, the verse actually highlights how believers and non-believers react differently to this mosquito analogy.
Okay.
Those with strong faith,
Yeah.
they just accept God's wisdom without questioning.
Right.
They recognize that his understanding far exceeds our own.
While others might kind of scoff at the comparison,
Yeah.
Like, why would God use something as small as a mosquito to make a point?
Exactly. Their limited understanding, prevents them from seeing the deeper truth.
It's like trying to understand the ocean by looking at a single drop of water. You need the whole picture to appreciate the vastness and the depth.
So how does this relate to us, to our everyday lives? We're constantly faced with God's commandments through prayer, fasting, charity, and, all these other obligations of our faith.
That's where this idea of accepting God's wisdom without questioning, becomes really practical.
Okay.
Performing these acts of worship simply because God commanded them, that's the purest form of submission.
So it's not about us trying to find our own personal meaning or reinterpreting the reasons behind God's commands.
Exactly. True submission lies in obedience. Acknowledging God's infinite wisdom and our own limited understanding.
This reminds me of the concept of rebelliousness that's mentioned in the source material, and it explains the word's origin in Arabic, linking it to a date separating from its core.
It's a beautiful analogy, very powerful. Just as that date loses its nourishment and becomes incomplete when it detaches from its core,
Right.
We humans can become rebellious by straying from God's path, from his guidance.
And that rebellion, that separation, leads to the corruption and destruction that we see in the world today.
That's what the source material suggests, and it contrasts that with the order and beauty of untouched nature.
Yeah.
Highlighting how aligning with God's will brings harmony. Think about it. Like, when was the last time you saw chaos and ugliness in a pristine forest? It's when humans interfere, right? When we impose our own will instead of submitting to a higher power, that things start to go wrong.
So following God's guidance isn't just about personal piety, then it's about contributing to a harmonious world.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our actions, our choices, have ripple effects on the world around us. And each act of obedience is a step towards restoring that balance, that harmony that God intended for us.
Wow, that's a really powerful thought.
Yeah.
It makes you realize the weight of our choices.
It does. It really does. And it brings us back to that mosquito analogy. If even the smallest creature faithfully fulfills its purpose in God's plan, what does that tell us about the importance of aligning ourselves with his will?
That's a question worth pondering. If everything else in the universe operates in perfect harmony, following its designated path, where do we fit in? Where does our free will come into play?
That's where things get really interesting. And that's a discussion we should definitely delve into further. It's fascinating to think that within that grand symphony of creation, we humans have a unique melody and contribute a special role to play.
And that role is defined by our willingness to submit to God's will, to follow his guidance.
Precisely. By aligning ourselves with his plan, we find our true purpose, our true harmony within that universal orchestra.
This makes me think of another point from the source material. It talks about how the level of benefit we get from the Quran is directly tied to the level of faith in our hearts.
That's a profound insight. It's not just about, reading the words on the page, but about letting them penetrate our hearts, letting them resonate with our very being.
So someone with deep faith might find incredible wisdom and guidance in even the simplest verse.
Absolutely. While someone with doubts or weaker faith might only skim the surface, missing the deeper truth hidden beneath.
I guess it's like looking at a masterpiece of art. Someone with a trained eye, will see nuances and details that others might completely miss.
That's a perfect analogy. The beauty and the wisdom are there for everyone to see.
Right.
But the level of appreciation depends on the viewer's perspective, their willingness to truly see.
So cultivating faith is essential for unlocking the full potential of the Quran's guidance. It's like preparing the soil before you plant a seed.
Exactly. We need to nurture that connection with the divine.
Right.
Allowing our hearts to become that fertile ground where the seeds of Quranic wisdom can take root and flourish.
This reminds me of a story about a young man who was wrestling with doubts and questions about his faith. He was feeling really lost, confused, overwhelmed by all the conflicting information in the world.
It's a struggle many of us face, especially in today's world, where we are bombarded with so many different viewpoints and ideologies.
Right.
It's so easy to lose sight of what truly matters.
He tried reading books, talking to people, searching for answers intellectually, but nothing seemed to satisfy his longing for inner peace and clarity.
It sounds like he was seeking something beyond the realm of intellect alone, a deeper connection with something greater than himself.
And then one day he happened to walk by a group of people gathering for a Quran study session. He decided to join them, even though he was a little skeptical.
Sometimes the most unexpected encounters can lead us to profound insights and transformations.
As he listened to the verses being recited and explained, he felt a shift within him, a sense of peace and tranquility that he had never experienced before.
It's remarkable how the Quran has that power to touch our hearts and our souls, even when our minds are full of questions.
Yeah, he realized that his intellectual approach had been a barrier. He had been trying to confine the infinite within the boundaries of his finite understanding.
It's a common mistake we make. We try to grasp the divine with our limited human intellect.
Right.
Instead of simply opening our hearts to faith and surrender.
From that day forward, the young man dedicated himself to nurturing his faith. He started to see the world through a new lens, a lens of gratitude and wonder.
It's like he had been given a new pair of glasses, allowing him to finally see the beauty and meaning that had always been there, but hidden from his view.
And as his faith grew, he found that the Quran's wisdom became clearer, more relevant to his life, guiding him through challenges and illuminating his path.
It's like a seed that needs that fertile soil to grow and blossom, and faith is that fertile soil for the seeds of Quranic wisdom.
What a beautiful way to put it. It highlights how interconnected faith and understanding truly are.
And it underscores the importance of nurturing our spiritual growth, of creating a space within ourselves where faith can take root and blossom.
So how can we cultivate that fertile ground within ourselves? How can we strengthen our faith and deepen our connection with God?
That's a question that has been pondered by scholars and seekers for centuries,
Right.
But one crucial aspect is consistency in our religious practices.
Like prayer, fasting, reading the Quran, and giving charity.
Exactly. These acts of worship aren't just empty rituals,
Right.
but they are opportunities to connect with God, to nourish our souls, and to strengthen our bond with the divine.
It's like having a daily conversation with God, expressing our gratitude, seeking his guidance, and reinforcing our commitment to his path.
Beautifully said. It's through these consistent efforts that our faith grows stronger, like a muscle that becomes toned and resilient through regular exercise.
So it's not about sporadic bursts of piety then, but about weaving these practices into the fabric of our daily lives.
Yeah.
Making them an integral part of who we are.
Precisely. It's about making them a natural expression of our faith, not something we do only on special occasions or when it's convenient.
Another important element, I think, is seeking knowledge, both religious and worldly.
Absolutely. Islam places great emphasis on seeking knowledge, as a means of understanding God's creation better, of appreciating the intricacies of his design.
It's like exploring this vast and breathtaking garden, uncovering new wonders and marvels with every step we take.
And as our knowledge grows, so does our faith, our awe, and our appreciation for the magnificence of God's creation.
So seeking knowledge isn't just about accumulating facts and figures then.
No.
It's about cultivating a sense of wonder and gratitude for God's handiwork.
It's about viewing the world through the lens of faith, recognizing the divine hand in everything we observe and experience.
This brings to mind a verse from the Quran that says, "Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the night and the day are signs for those who understand."
Such a powerful reminder. It encourages us to contemplate the wonders of the universe and to see them as signs of God's power, wisdom, and boundless love.
Instead of rushing through our daily routines, we should take the time to pause, reflect, and marvel at the beauty and complexity that surround us.
Whether it's the breathtaking hues of a sunset, the intricate patterns of a snowflake, or the vast expanse of the starry sky,
Right.
there are countless opportunities to connect with the divine through contemplation and appreciation.
You know, this reminds me of a time when I was feeling incredibly stressed and overwhelmed by life's challenges. And I decided to go for a walk in nature, hoping to clear my head and find some peace.
Nature has an incredible ability to soothe our souls and reconnect us to what truly matters.
Yeah.
It's like stepping into a sanctuary where God's presence is palpable.
As I walked through the woods, I noticed the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves, the gentle breeze rustling the branches, the sweet melodies of bird song filling the air.
It's as if nature itself whispers reminders of God's presence, of the peace and serenity he offers to those who open their hearts to him.
I felt this wave of calm wash over me, a profound sense of being connected to something much greater than myself.
It's a sense of belonging and purpose.
It's in those moments of connection, those moments of awe and wonder, that our faith is nourished and we're reminded of our place in the grand scheme of things.
And it's through these experiences that we begin to understand the Quran's message on a deeper, more visceral level. It becomes more than just words on a page. It transforms into a lived reality.
Exactly. It's not just about reading the Quran,
Right.
but about embodying its teachings, integrating its wisdom into our thoughts, actions, and interactions with the world around us.
Which brings us back to that intriguing verse about the mosquito.
Yeah.
It's not just about a tiny buzzing insect,
No, it's not.
but about recognizing the magnificence of God's creation in every detail, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant.
It's about shifting our perspective, viewing the world through the lens of faith, and appreciating the beauty, wisdom, and purpose woven into every fiber of existence.
And that appreciation, that sense of wonder, fuels our journey of spiritual growth, propelling us towards a deeper understanding of God and our place in his grand design. It's a journey that demands effort, intentionality, and a willingness to surrender our limited understanding in favor of God's infinite wisdom. You know, it's a journey of transformation, a journey from the outward to the inward, from the superficial to the profound.
What an inspiring conversation this has been. It's incredible how a single verse from the Quran can spark so many profound reflections and insights.
It speaks to the timeless wisdom of the Quran, its ability to transcend time and space to connect with our hearts and minds across generations and cultures.
And for our listeners who are eager to delve deeper into the Quran's teachings and explore its practical applications in their lives, I highly recommend checking out the Brogue Entrepreneur channel.
They offer a wealth of valuable resources and insights on integrating Islamic principles into everyday life, making the Quran's wisdom accessible, relevant, and transformative.
It's a reminder that the Quran isn't just a book to be read,
Right.
but a guide to be lived, a source of wisdom to be applied in every aspect of our journey.
And that living it requires us to engage with its teachings on multiple levels, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual, allowing its wisdom to permeate our thoughts, feelings, and actions.
Speaking of engaging with the Quran, I've noticed some really fascinating connections between its teachings and modern psychology.
Oh, that's a keen observation. There are definitely parallels between the Quran's insights into human nature and the principles explored in psychology. It's like these ancient teachings anticipated many of the discoveries made by modern science centuries later.
For example, the concept of mindfulness, which is so popular in psychology today, seems to echo the Quran's emphasis on being present and aware of our thoughts and actions, in every moment.
Absolutely. Mindfulness encourages us to pay attention to the present moment without judgment.
Right.
And the Quran similarly urges us to be constantly mindful of God's presence in all that we do.
It's as if the Quran is saying, don't just go through the motions of life. Be fully present in each moment, aware of God's guidance and the sacredness of every experience.
And that mindfulness, that heightened awareness can lead to greater peace, purpose, and fulfillment in our lives. It helps us break free from the shackles of our ego and connect with something far greater than ourselves.
Another connection I've noticed is between the Quran's teachings on gratitude and the research in psychology, highlighting the profound benefits of cultivating a grateful heart.
That's a brilliant point. The Quran repeatedly emphasizes the importance of expressing gratitude for God's blessings.
Right.
And studies have shown that practicing gratitude can enhance our well-being, strengthen our relationships, and even improve our physical health.
It's amazing to think that the Quran recognized the transformative power of gratitude centuries before modern science confirmed it.
It's a testament to the Quran's timeless wisdom, its relevance across eras and cultures, and its ability to address the deepest needs of the human spirit.
These connections between the Quran and modern psychology are so fascinating. It makes me appreciate the depth, the complexity, and enduring relevance of the Quran's teachings even more.
It's truly inspiring to see how ancient wisdom aligns with modern discoveries, validating the Quran's insights into human nature and illuminating the path to a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
Yeah, it really does make you think, how much wisdom is packed into the Quran and how it can speak to us on so many different levels.
It's like a multi-layered tapestry, right? With new patterns and meanings emerging the more closely you examine it.
Right.
And the amazing thing is you can find connections between its teachings and other areas of knowledge, like psychology.
You're right. We were just talking about mindfulness and how it aligns with the Quran's emphasis on being present and aware. There are other parallels too, aren't there?
Absolutely. Think about the Quran's emphasis on gratitude.
Okay.
It's constantly reminding us to acknowledge and appreciate the blessings in our lives. And what does modern psychology tell us about gratitude?
Well, from what I've read, it seems like gratitude is more than just a nice feeling.
Yeah.
It actually has measurable benefits for our mental and physical health.
Exactly. Studies have shown that people who regularly practice gratitude tend to be happier, healthier, and even more resilient in the face of challenges.
Right.
It's like the Quran was onto something long before modern science caught up.
It's almost like the Quran is a guide to living a good life, not just in a spiritual sense, but in a very practical, down-to-earth way.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. The Quran offers guidance for every aspect of our lives, from our relationship with God to our interactions with others and even our own inner well-being.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 26, what are some key takeaways our listeners can reflect on?
Well, I think the mosquito analogy is a powerful reminder that God's wisdom and power are present in every detail of creation, even the seemingly insignificant ones. It encourages us to look beyond the surface and appreciate the interconnectedness of everything.
And to remember that true faith lies in accepting God's wisdom, even when we may not fully understand it.
Exactly. And finally, to recognize that we have the free will to choose obedience or rebellion, and that those choices have real consequences both for ourselves and for the world around us.
This has been such an enriching conversation.
It has been.
Thank you for sharing your insights.
The pleasure was all mine.
And for our listeners who are eager to explore these ideas further, I highly recommend checking out the Broke Entrepreneur channel. They offer fantastic resources and insights on applying Islamic principles to modern life.
It's a great way to make these ancient teachings relevant and practical for today's world.
And as always, remember that the Quran's wisdom is timeless. Apply it today